Hello, everybody, and welcome to The Rest is Lean. This is episode 8 of our podcast series, and the podcast comes out usually every other Sunday. Three people, myself included, who are loosely called lean professionals, chatting around the subject, philosophizing, and just giving our experience of what works, what doesn't work, and having a laugh with each other and hopefully with you guys. If you'd like to get involved, then please give us some comments below the video. We love to hear what you're thinking and what your opinion is on the topics we're discussing. If you want to email us, that's great too. And you can use therestislean@gmail.com. So, last episode, boys, we'd opened up the can of worms. That is the simple, easy, straightforward topic of 5C, 5S, or workplace organization. And yeah, it turned into a right melting pot. I think the last topic we kind of discussed was red tags. We were just starting to get into it. Uh, what do you guys think? Red tagging, what's your experience of red tagging? Good, bad, indifferent?
Uh, am I philosophizing now, John?
You might be. It sounds better than the word I came up with, philosophizing.
Um, uh, I think it's a powerful thing. I think you have to recognize it for what it is. I've done a shed load of red tagging. Al, you mentioned that you could, if you had shares in the yellow floor tape company, you'd be a millionaire. I think
Yeah.
I'd be the same with red tags.
Yeah.
Although I tend to steal them from clients now. So so red tagging, it's the same as the theme continues from last time, John. The point of red tagging isn't to red tag. Red tagging is a mechanism to sharpen the eyes and to recalibrate from what you are accepting as normal
Yeah.
is actually abnormal. And the fact that as humans working anywhere in a socio-technical system in a factory anywhere, the worst thing about us, well, the great thing about humans is we are tremendously flexible. We can work around things. So we can step over a puddle of oil, dip beneath the whirling blade, just about avoid chopping our fingers off and get a good part out of a crappy machine with a crap jig. The great thing about us is that we're very flexible. The bad thing about us is that we're very flexible and we start to accept abnormal as normal. And the red tag is just a mechanism to recalibrate our eyes again and our brain.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Mhm. Mhm.
Absolutely. I'll give
Yeah.
you another little take that might take us on a tangent. But again, part of my reflection on how I share 5S and how it should be shared. I more and more tell people that the red tag, you should see it as it's a visual aid, like you just alluded to, Russ, but it's an escalation tool more than anything. So, as a person who's a owner, a stakeholder in a particular area, you might tie a red tag to something because the quality of the nut runner that you've got is really poor. It rattles, it keeps falling apart, it's giving you RSI, whatever, and you've put in a request to get a better tool with a side handle or some stabilization, something like that. Weird and wonderful. You've tied another thing to a dangerous piece of electrical equipment that you've had to turn off and you've just tied a tag on it. Both of those have entered some sort of action list with maintenance or procurement or your line manager, and theoretically they're getting dealt with. If they're not going to get dealt with, then somebody should be coming out explaining why and taking them away because they're not actions. Because they're physically there, it's a way for you as operator on a shop floor to escalate to the highest level in the business.
Hmm.
Because if the MD's got anything about them, they'll walk the shop. They'll see the Christmas tree area that's dangling with red tags.
Yeah.
They'll wander over and go, "What are all these?" And say, "Don't worry, boss. They're all things that are wrong with the area, but we know about them. They're all on lists to do. Good." And he'll probably have a little look at one or two. But when they come back next week and there's the same sea of red tags,
Hmm.
well, hey, Alan, what's all this? Yeah, nobody's doing anything about it, boss.
Hmm.
Or, yeah, I was going to do something, but I couldn't be asked, boss. escalation is automatic.
Yeah. It's a
People can
visual
see
control.
it, people can be
Mhm.
upset by it. Some people say, oh, I don't want red tags in my business. Why not? Oh, when the customer comes round, they're going to think we're idiots. All these things that are wrong. No,
Mhm.
you'll be able to explain to the customer when they see those. No, 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 we've got problems in our business, but we know about them all. They've all got big red comedy arrows pointing to them. So there's an action.
Yeah.
And that's only a risk if that customer comes back, because then your bluff is called and they go, hello, you said that this was all. So as long as you mean it,
Mhm.
it's escalation. It gets stuff done. And if
Yeah.
something isn't going to get done, it needs somebody to come down and say, oh, we're not going to do this because illegal, expensive,
Mhm.
not a priority. And it gets explained to you at
Yeah.
least.
Yeah. You mentioned abnormal condition. Yeah.
Mhm.
So, initially, in the first instance, the tag is going to say whether it's, the abnormality is from a safety perspective, quality perspective, whatever.
Yeah.
Okay. But then coming back to your point is then if you come back afterwards and it's still not been actioned and that same red tag is still there gathering dust,
Mm.
it then is an abnormality around the culture and the current level of understanding of 5S within that particular area.
Yeah.
Because it's not being actioned because people don't necessarily have the urgency because they don't truly understand why you've created the red tag in the first place. And I always throw the I've always focused on the safety elements above everything else. And I said, particularly if you've got a safety critical red tag that's got on there,
Mm.
okay, that should be dealt with there and then,
During the
same day.
activity.
Should activity set the example? Yeah. Don't let that slide because if you're the team leader or the most senior person in that team and you let that slide, it is a much steeper hill to climb if you're going to try and um, sing the praises or the power of what 5S can truly do for your organization
Yeah.
because you're not setting the clear expectations.
Yeah.
Just very quickly in terms of we talk about red tags. Has anybody ever had any activities where haven't not been allowed to use red tags?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I've had two instances. Number one is similar to what you said before, John, where they were scared of showing abnormalities to customers.
Yep.
Okay. And the second one was you weren't allowed to use red tag because red tags were being used symbolized something else within the
Mm.
organization. So we had to use blue tags,
Mm.
Fair enough.
which is just, and they had it,
I've never
five
actually
days.
had that specific issue with red tags, but I
Mm-hmm.
have had a couple of instances. One, food factories
Mm-hmm.
very often are allergic to paper, cardboard, and string. So you're not allowed those sorts of things anywhere near
Yeah. Good point.
the shop floor because the idea of bits of paper, bits of string ending up in food stuffs is just a no-no.
Mm-hmm.
So I've had that, and I have had one where red tags were frowned upon because fire risk. That one made my spidey senses go right
Yeah.
off because if you say don't bring any paper into our shop floor because we'll catch fire, I don't want to work there.
Mm.
So we definitely won't be naming that business. But yeah, the string labels, cardboard. Oh no, no fire
It
risk in our area.
Yeah.
madness. In it in a minute, I'd like to tell you about my worst ever savaging from Mick. And it was a two-word savaging to do with 5S. I'll tell you about that shortly. But before I do, red tagging. What I have had is and again, it's that thing about reflecting back on, oh, I haven't given good guidance here again. And early on, particularly a number of years ago, if you get, yeah, as you fellas know, if you get 6 to 8 people, a mixed group, crawling all over inside and outside a machine, in about 20 minutes, they're going to find 70 to 100 red tag items.
Yeah.
We should explain, and I think you did last time, John. You red tag things that are broken, homeless, safety critical, quality critical. They might affect those things. Yeah. I've been around tags afterwards when I've been too tied up to get around and see their first tag they've written earlier because the first tag matters.
Yeah.
And I look at the tag hanging off something and it says either shit or busted or something vague. Or the other end, somebody has written,
Countermeasure is McFly.
yeah, or somebody has written a short story on their red tag. And
Uh,
so and so I have to explain, no, we need enough details so that if it's on there for a bit and we lose a red tag log sheet, then it's still there. But
yeah.
yeah, my my worst ever savaging from Mick was comedy. Um, it was years ago now. Textile
Yeah, just
company.
to explain for our non-regular viewers that Mick is one of our jam masters, the Japanese gentleman senseis who trained us when we were youths, and we're our sort of leaders in lean thinking.
That yeah, thanks, John. Sorry, I'm sorry. This one has stuck with me forever. So to the point where, funnily enough, I still don't enjoy a red tag activity. I should do, but I'm still very nervous because I was very nervous. I've got a strong anchoring of unhappiness doing red tag, doing 5S. But anyway, textiles company, huge machine, huge machine. I had 10 people. The area I chose was too big. He knew it was too big, and he knew that I couldn't get to the sufficient level of detail in the 5.5 hours we had. He knew it, and he let me do it because that's his job, to let me fail,
Yeah.
um, fail safely. I did. I ran a three-ring circus that day. I had people doing all sorts, and we were rushing and rushing and rushing. So their learning about the purpose of stuff wouldn't have been strong. They
Mhm.
were just getting it done under my behest. And at the end, I was really proud of myself because we'd done a huge area to what I thought was a decent level. And I said to him, Mixan, through Mami-san, our interpreter, Mixan, what do you think? And he said two words, very pretty. And that has stuck with me. And he had this curled lip on him that said very pretty. Those two words spoke everything he wanted to
Yeah.
say, which was
You literally have done this to you, had the same effect.
surface activity, pointless, lipstick on a pig. Why have you wasted their time? Bad teaching.
Yeah.
And
Very bad engineer. Very bad engineer.
Like,
Very bad
oh.
engineer. Back at all. Back at today. Or back was it back at today? Back at today?
you
Back
can't.
at today?
It's not a nice phrase, but I used to hear it a lot. Baccaro.
Back at
Yeah.
all. Yeah, back at all. Back at today.
But yeah. So, listen. That stuck with me forever. So
Mm,
It was learning, as you put it, Ross. That was their learning style.
yeah,
mm.
Let you fail, watch you fail while smiling,
yeah,
and then go, yeah,
And
idiot.
there's plenty more we can tell,
Yeah,
can't we, guys? Where that
absolutely.
one came from.
A few episodes yet to come, I think, where we just have a bit of a over our time as being mentored, let's say, by our Japanese senseis.
the flip
Mm,
side of that coin is about 10 years ago, automotive company, turnaround job, awful assembly cells. I did a very quick and dirty 5S activity, which was tremendous. I know it was tremendous because we sorted out a jig that was creating a quality defect live. Yeah.
mhm.
Mhm.
We didn't have all the kit we needed. So afterwards, the area didn't look a huge amount different. There was a bit less clutter. MD came along. Well, that was a waste of time. It looks just the same. Um, he was wrong that time,
Yeah.
but I was wrong the first example.
Yeah.
Mm,
And again, the reason the MD was wrong was there was a measurable reason that it was a win, no doubt.
mm,
The quality had changed. Therefore,
mm,
how much better could it have possibly been? Would you have liked it
mm,
to be prettier?
mm.
And he might say
It's a
yes, because all our customers think we're idiots. But circular argument again. It's what it needs to achieve is what we've got to remember.
Yeah.
yeah.
On the red tags, um, I always tell people that I'm working with that red tags are not deployed at a particular step of 5S. I must admit, we make more of an effort when we get to the one that's laughingly called sweep or shine or
Mhm,
chills when I say those words. Um, but I tell them about red tags during training for 5S and how they can be used and what they're there to achieve, and let them know that if you're picking something up and it's moment one of the 5S, you're just picking something up to move it out of the way
Yeah.
and the top falls off, red tag time, if that's a necessary needed item. What's your approach, guys? Do you have moments in 5S activities where you hit red tags, or is it throughout? What's your approaches? Because I don't get to see anybody else do it.
So, I try and keep it as open as possible, to be honest. If they feel there's a need for a red tag, let them go for it. Because at the end of the day, we're trying to coach and mentor them. And the idea is not when to raise the red tag. It's the, I think, going back to what Russell said before, I look at it from the point of view is it's what detail, why are they raising the red tag? The learning is why they've raised it, not when they've raised it, in my humble opinion. Is there sufficient information? Should it be raised? Is there a need for it to be raised? As opposed to, just gung ho, I've got 1,000 tags in this box, I'm going to try and use them, in 20 minutes. All right. So yeah, I'm pretty flexible with it, to be honest with you. The second thing is you go back to about the third step, John. I like the third C better than I like the third S because it says quite clearly clean to check.
Yeah.
Not clean and check, clean to check. It's an inspection you're supposed to put your hands and your paws all over it. Say if it's safe to do so, obviously. Okay. You're inspecting it, you're looking at to see what's wrong with it. Yeah. All right. Not bump and move. And it's a balance because you've got to take the time between taking the time and getting a good, sensible activity done. A bit like Russell's example earlier on. Okay. So yeah, it's you're cleaning it to find opportunity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know what the phrase would be, but obviously, I don't think any of us would ever like to have been the one who said this step should be called shine, or this step should be called sweep. They're people I would like to meet. The original word did not say that, but obviously it was in the wrong language.
Yeah.
C word is better. C word being clean to check. But realistically, when I'm describing it, I'm quite animated and say, "Oh, this is the stage at which you shake stuff, touch stuff, prod stuff, listen to stuff, and if appropriate, you play with it, you use it, you try it out, you experiment, you prod, critically inspect is my C phrase. I haven't got an S phrase for it because I can't come up with one. But again, the deeper, better quality of training that you need to give people to stop them falling into these traps, which, it's such an open goal. We've got the opportunity, people who don't know about workplace organization, to show them how to do it well, but then we tell them the third step is sweep. Or we're still shine, but it's not about housekeeping and pretty guy.
Well, it's
But you said it is. Yeah. Move on.
Yeah, it's shiny isn't to make it shiny. There's a couple of things I'd like to respond to though. I'll come back to red tagging in a minute about when I introduce red tags and how I deepen it. And by the way, a plug for my website. On there, there's a blog that gives a detailed minute by minute how you can do a 5S activity, a 3S blitz. If anybody wants to know how to start, it's on there. It's free. Just
Yeah,
give it a go.
I think I've had a look at that, Russ, and get over there and check it out, guys.
Yeah, it's a good one. It's a good one.
I'll come back to red tagging in a minute though. I like your discussion about shine there. 70% of problems of breakdown problems, you could say quality and productivity as well, breakdown problems, you don't need a trained mechatronics maintenance fitter to fix. They're caused by simple things, and the simple things that we all know are missing things, loose things, broken things, ingress of crap into moving parts, tooling left laying around on machinery. So I take that as the opportunity to get them into, this is your entry point for TPM and maintenance thinking, which links back to the 5S activity. I introduced red tags in the half an hour in the classroom first, where we're saying this is why you're going to pull your plums out for the next 5 hours to achieve this. Then on the shop, I give them all 10 red tags each. I ask them to remind me what kind of things they're tagging. I have an example of a red tag that is not War and Peace and doesn't say busted.
Yeah.
And then if I'm worried about them, I will highlight the first red tag and I'll tie it on. I'll do it myself. And then I give them 10 each and ask them to do it. Then, but before that, I'll have been inside the area deeply and found a couple of red tags aren't obvious. One that's going to affect quality, one that's probably going to affect safety. And I will keep them in my back pocket. And once they've done
to
the initial red
discover.
tagging, yeah,
Yeah.
once they've done the initial red tagging, I'll get them together and say, great work. You've raised, let's count it up. Blimey, 73 red tags there in 15 minutes. Did you believe there could be that level of issues here? No, 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 no. Right. So we're learning to see again. Do you think you've got everything? Well, there's nothing else. Let me show you a couple of things. And I take that as a chance to deepen the red
Yes.
tagging.
Yes.
Mhm.
And then when we do the shine, I remind them, don't forget, if you find anything else, red tag it because you're looking deeper.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Or if somebody finds something, I'll say, oh, red tag that for me.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I have
Mhm.
three kind of bites at the red tag cherry.
Mm.
Mhm.
Mm. I the link to TPM is also something that I often allude to. For some businesses that are working at maybe a lower level than others, when we introduce them to 5S and we introduce red tags, it's actually the first time they've had any sort of structured maintenance system or TPM. You
Mhm.
know,
Mhm.
creating that checklist of we need somebody to screw the shelf back to the wall might be their first maintenance request.
Yeah.
Or the red tags themselves turn into their maintenance logging system,
Yeah.
Mhm.
such that 5S events carry on, create a list of to-dos. Hopefully, the guys in the area are biting off the things that they can do personally and then pushing up to the handyman, the maintenance man, the mechatronics guy, um, all the stuff that they can't do. And that's very often how I start to get into conversations with medium level businesses. Would you consider the transition towards a TPM style
Yeah.
business? Here's what TPM is.
Mhm.
Red tags are kind of that first hint of how your people should be looking after their kit that they
Mhm. Mhm.
use and trying to divide off. Um, in my opinion, maintenance teams should be doing unpredictable repairs. If it's a predictable repair,
Mhm.
i.e., the fan belt wears out every fortnight, then that's predictable. Maintenance teams should make it very easy for the people who work the machines, the operators who should know how all the buttons work, to change the fan belt because they can supply the fan belt. They're going to take all the covers off. Give them a hinge,
Yeah. And
Mhm.
safe to
a
do. Exactly.
hatch,
Mhm.
give them an isolation button
Mhm.
so that, you can change your fan belt. It's a work of 10 minutes. That's your challenge, maintenance team. Then you're never doing that. Why have you done it for
Mhm.
fan belt and not for cracked casting? Cracked casting is a unpredictable, you would hope, thing, but you've got the full mixed skill set, access to the phone and a computer to get fixed. Anything predictable should eventually end up with the professionals who use that kit all the time. And that's a good way I found to start to introduce people to this idea of TPM and everybody involved in getting maximum benefit from
Mm.
equipment. So yeah, red tags have got so many great avenues to help you explore.
Mhm.
I even use red tags to introduce people to Kanban systems. Put a red tag halfway down the stack of documents,
Yeah.
and the red tag says we're low on documents, but we're
Real
not.
point.
Oh, you've hidden it there. Yeah, you've pre-tied that one on, haven't you? We call that Kanban. Oh, okay. Cardboard signal that tells you you're low. Oh, okay. So red tags can help us segue into a lot of other
Oh,
areas:
definitely.
visual
Yeah, good point.
management, TPM, Kanban systems. Yeah, I think there's a rich vein there.
John, you've raised a question in my head there about how do you measure the maturity of a maintenance function in a business
Hmm.
and and the maturity of how well they look after their kit. So um a long time ago I don't use OEE for that metric. I think it has its strong use, but I don't use it for that. I don't use mean time between failure. I use two measures, but you've just thrown a spanner in one that I'd like to talk about if that's all right.
Yeah, yeah.
So the first measure of how well are you maintaining your kit is the percentage of visits by dedicated maintenance people to any machine, planned versus unplanned.
Yeah.
That percentage of visits tells you something.
Yeah.
So if they are doing 90% unplanned visits and 10% planned,
Mm.
in my world, that means they're doing more responsive breakdown maintenance and less predictive and planned preventive maintenance.
Mm.
That's a bad thing. I think that's where we need to explore in a minute against what you just said.
Yeah.
Um, the second measure is a percentage of maintenance planned work that is being completed on time to a weekly time bucket. We're not doing any for the first 7 months because we're running balls out in production. Then we're catching it all back in the summer shutdown,
Yeah.
Yeah.
having run at risk for 7 months. Those are my two measures. The problem is that, and I take your point. You want first line people to be doing a proportion of the maintenance, the planned maintenance, but there are still some items that do need extensive guard removal, playing with
Yes.
electricity or proximity
Yeah.
to potential to knock sensors or muck
Yeah.
about with the settings.
Yeah.
Where do you draw the line
Yeah.
between what an operator should do?
That phrase of maturity of your maintenance team, I think, is key to this. I haven't got a pure answer, but I've certainly got a picture in my head that if you've just created Microphone Co. and we're building these beautiful microphones, in the first few months, nobody knows how to make the things and nobody knows how the equipment's going to last, and everybody's chucked in there. And you're going to do an awful lot of learning as you go. The people who make the equipment aren't going to have any real experience of fixing their tools. The maintenance team are hopefully going to be hired because they are handymen or have specific electrical, mechanical, pneumatic, robotics experience. They've never seen this being made, so they don't know what they're going to. Everybody's
Mhm.
learning. And in my head, as a company matures and the functions mature, you start off with a lot of maintenance happening through maintenance. They've got to fix everything because the machine's gone wrong, teething problems, because the fan belt's gone and a light bulb's gone. But it's maintenance. I don't know. I'm struggling just to stick knobs on microphones. Uh, Everything goes to maintenance. So you have that initial hump, everything belongs to maintenance. Then the guys on the shop floor learn not to bother. It's almost an unprofessional way. Oh, don't ring maintenance for a light bulb. I know where to keep the light bulbs. Stick one in. That isn't working. I'll wriggle this, flick that. It'll People learn not to call maintenance so much because they're completely overwhelmed. And that's the beginnings of professionalizing the operator. They're learning their kit. Then there's got to come a point at which we say, whoa, 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 you're not allowed to do that. You're unsafe.
Mhm.
Um, we've got to have certificates and training and particular skills and tools to do certain jobs, including at height or with electrics and things like that. So you've got 1, 2, 3 levels, and the balance swings back towards the maintenance have got to cover off a lot more.
Mhm.
It's at that stage, I'd say we're mature. And it's at that stage where the maintenance team, I think, in TPM land, should be saying, we've got a lot to do. We'd like to do some really quite sophisticated stuff, doing regular, what do you call it, ultrasonic tests on all the castings on our machines. They're not broken, but if we listen to them, we might be able to get ahead of the game.
Predictive maintenance.
Predictive maintenance. We'd like to do it, but we can't because we're running around fixing fan belts. That's when maintenance put all their effort into making it possible
Yeah.
by doing training, by doing changes to the equipment, by working with procurement to have parts hanging on hooks, all that sort of stuff, by looking at red tags to look at what's the repeating items and say, well, we don't need to be there for that. And they push back towards these guys. Maintenance then get on with scheduled work because they're probably still the only ones who are driving the forklift with a barrel of oil balanced on the forks, topping up coolant and all the rest of it, working at height, all the rest. They're still doing lots of regular stuff, but they're constantly looking for opportunities to move it on and saying, why do we need a forklift? Why do we need a big tank? Why can't they have a little hand crank thing they can pump their own oil in? It's moving the maintenance towards continuous improvement
Good.
Mhm.
so that they're not doing reactive stuff and they're constantly trying to minimize their regular planned stuff that's predictable and being more and more ready with the crash cart for the heart attack that the machines had.
And
Mhm.
and something else, John, and something else. So
Mm.
so I worked a lot over the years with a Japanese transplant and worked with them on their TPM and the way that maintenance worked. I've got a question for you in a minute, and the
Yeah.
question would be, what percentage of a maintenance function's time should be spent on these four things?
Oh.
Okay. Now I
Is it
and
multi-choice?
and we can't argue case by case, even though case
No.
by case is the correct answer. Okay. So the first the first level of maintenance, I think we'll agree, is breakdown maintenance. They're just reacting to everything and
Yeah, yeah.
fixing.
Mhm.
Secondly, we'll call it periodic maintenance, which is
Mhm.
planned maintenance and preventative.
Bit of
Then we come
servicing.
into the interesting ones. Yeah. Then we come into the interesting ones. The third is corrective maintenance, which is they have found a problem either during unplanned or planned maintenance, and they are finding a way to stop it happening again. The
Yeah,
Kaizen.
yeah,
A really interesting one, the real maturity, I think, comes in maintenance prevention,
yeah.
the highest level. How
Mhm.
can we design the next machine we bring in so that it doesn't break down so much and aim towards zero breakdown, which you're never going to get to, but how do we
Mhm.
design the kit better?
Yes.
Now, maintenance function, if you add up the pot of all the hours that maintenance spend in the business, what percentage of time should be spent on those four categories?
Now, you see, it's an unanswerable question because reality is you should spend 90% on that last category. But now the factory's on fire because you're not doing a running around. Should and could are different. So you've got to spend the time that you need to do on the reactive stuff. You can't not do it. So what you're left with is the remainder.
Yeah.
And my advice would be divide the remainder between servicing, which is should be, turn the handle,
Mhm.
and the more sophisticated, how are we going to stop this ever breaking, combined with if it breaks, make it break in such a way the operators can bring it back.
Mhm.
So the continuous improvement angle, if you like. But yeah, I don't think you can say what proportion of the day because if it caught fire, it caught fire. Oh, sorry,
Mhm.
mate, I've allocated my 30%. I don't think it's really answerable. But it's
It's
a
really interesting.
very interesting topic, isn't it?
It is. It is. Do you know what? And it's a really interesting question, that Russ, because I'd never thought of it that way before. And I was trying to rack my brains. The first thing that came to me was, would it not vary over time? So, for example, if you're in a state of immaturity, you're going to do a much higher, generally speaking, a much higher percentage of the reactionary stuff.
Mm.
Just fix it and move on. Yeah.
Yeah.
In order to move away or to reduce that percentage, it then got me thinking, well, actually, do you not need to be making sure that you are doing, yes, you've got to fix it, but it's almost like doing a root cause analysis, isn't it? If you think
Yeah.
about it, I've contained the problem. Now I've got, but a lot of people just do that, put the stick in plaster and move on.
Yeah.
But it's creating the mindset. Actually, look, I've got to fix it because use John's example. The house, it's burning. Let's put the fire out.
Mm.
Okay. But then we've got to understand, where's the fire come from? How can we then prevent that fire from igniting in the future? All right.
Mm.
It's only unless you do a little bit of everything, that you then get to utopia that you're striving for, where actually the do it now bit is much less of a percentage,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
otherwise you'll just continue to go round and round in a circle, putting the fire out.
Yeah. I think that's a
So yeah,
really, really good point, Alan. I really do. How
Because it is,
often
and
are
then you think,
maintenance
how many times do
actually
we go into you just blame maintenance? Oh,
acting to reduce
not
their
blame
workload?
maintenance. Yeah, exactly, exactly. I very much see maintenance people as not necessarily the fixers of the short-term problem, but the trainers of other people to fix the short-term problem. The majority of their time is actually going back to point 3 and 4, is looking at how do they should be spending most of their time striving for that utopia where
Yeah,
they haven't, if you think about a CI person in its infinite, you want to put yourself out of a job because
yeah,
everybody's perfectly trained
yeah,
and there's no issues. You and I both know that's never going to happen. Okay. But arguably that's what you would strive to do. I suppose from a maintenance perspective, what if they're striving to not have to do any maintenance whatsoever? But
yes,
you and I both know that is never going to happen.
yeah.
But that's the mindset that we should try and encourage.
Well, all right. Okay, so
It's my take. Would be my
no, no,
take.
no, 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 no. Agreed. Al, I agree. I was going to pivot somewhere else, but I just wanted to agree with you because I do. Uh,
Mark that
Write
one
it
up,
down.
John. Yeah, write it down quick. Hang on, I get that one.
no, yeah, we often agree. Now,
Yeah.
two, two other points. If you're spending between 50 grand and £500,000 on a new machine,
Mm,
rhetorical question, should you involve an operator early doors and a maintenance fitter early doors? And I'm saying yes to both.
yes.
And I'm saying yes to both because the operator, apart from understanding the process well, because they're calibrated like a mother to a child,
Mm,
they will also, if they're brave enough and you create the space for them to, they'll tell you, I can't possibly 5S that because of all these feckin' nooks and crannies you're designing in this. Make it easy for me to do my stuff.
Yeah.
And that jig, I'm gonna need three hands and the hands of a child to get it in there. Um, and the maintenance person, because the maintenance person knows, even though they might never have written it down, they visited the last generation of that machine about 1,000 times. And they'll say, don't bang that one on it. They always break. Or bang that upside down. It'll be easier to fix.
yeah.
Do you agree?
And how do
Yeah,
you
yeah,
expect to get to the filler cap for the oil on that?
yeah, yeah.
That's
And
sort of stuff.
to go deeper still, why is it designed that way? Is because you've probably got a whole load of bells and whistles on that fancy machine, of which the operator is only likely to use 10% of the thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Here's,
that's a much deeper subject, isn't it, in terms of going to why we
oh,
design
The
stuff the way we do.
machine.
But we're not going, yeah,
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 here's
yeah,
the thing. We agree, and I think 99%, no, 90, a high percentage of manufacturing people will agree. Here's the rub. How do you free an operator offline, and how do you free a maintenance fitter for enough time to get involved in that?
yeah,
And
yeah,
I think a part of our role is to show people they don't need to go away to Germany to the machine manufacturer for 3 weeks to do this.
yeah.
You can do it at this point in an hour if you structure it this way.
yeah.
Actually,
And
I
do you know,
think the key to
sorry,
this and it working well,
mhm,
ironically, lies with neither of those two parties. They're the ones who need to be involved. But where it goes wrong, and you've triggered it by saying, "Oh, we need to go off to Germany," because I see that a lot. Where's so and so? I was out looking at a new press. Great, it's an operator. Who's he gone with? Maintenance man. Oh, it's great. It's an operator. All the rest of it. But actually, the third party that needs to be far more active in this is let's call them procurement person. Because what you end up with in some businesses, they're clever enough, bright enough, mature enough to say we should get an operator to talk about what press we'll buy next. We should get the maintenance man to talk about what press we'll buy next. And they'll go, well, well, not like that one. I don't want that one. What we've got's rubbish. And they'll list you what's wrong with that. So better than that. And then unless you say to the operator, here's the RS catalogue, find a nice press. Or you go to the maintenance man and say, here's the RS catalogue, find a nice press. Obviously, crap example, but yeah. What actually happens then is the human person goes away and finds a nice press. And if we're good, avoids the bear traps that have been pointed out. But really, what we want is the procurement guy to come along with some knowledge of what's out there and talk with the guys here. Take away their thought, go investigate and go, oh, I talked to management about their press. They're not going to be able to do what you want with the buttons, but these lot are. And I feel that very often procurement just buy what they're told to buy, or they buy the cheapest.
Yeah.
And maybe maintenance tell them, do what you want, but don't buy this.
Yeah.
We don't get these three people working together. And I think the weaker spot in this is the procurement angle. They're just waiting to be told what to buy.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. You've opened a can of worms there, John, because that takes us back into new product introduction, gate processes, and the fact that the lead time is always being eaten away, but the start of production, the SOP date doesn't change,
Mhm.
and the buyer comes under pressure, and the production engineer ain't got time to involve these people or hasn't thought of doing it early enough.
Yeah.
Because a production engineer is another party to that.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
But yeah, I think if the three were strong and working together and they all care and are all good at their jobs, you get this 90% decision. You send your buyer off to Germany to go and have a look at the stuff. And when you're on the point of signing the check, if it's a big check, yeah, you go and operate and you go maintenance man and you go and look at it in case they have that
Mm.
moment when they're staring at it.
Yeah.
But if they're working as a good gang, you know, they're gonna be. I'm looking at the picture. Has it got a filler cap? Where is it? Yeah, that ain't gonna work. You can. You don't all need to disappear off.
Even better, get your operator to do the run at rate.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly. Mhm.
Go over there, test it out, use stuff, and go. It don't work in our application. Oh,
Mhm.
yeah. So new can of worms. Again, we're segueing into that world of TPM, the early years.
Mm.
The maintenance of the machine starts with buying the right one, doesn't it?
It does.
And it ends with your end of life care, which is different to your early life care, which probably reflects back again on how much the operator can do to look after it because they're there all the time.
Mm.
And to Al's, alluding to the lean machine principle of
Mhm.
machine with the least features is the most reliable machine
Yeah.
because
Mhm.
all the
Simple is
features
best.
not only are necessary and used, but there's no mysterious wires.
Well, there's a reason why Toyota started decades ago building their own machine tools,
Yes.
because take off the bells and whistles, only the bare minimum. They know how it's built, so they know how to maintain and they know how to fix it.
Yes.
And it's
Mhm.
cheaper, long term.
It's top tip time. Russ, have you got a top tip for us for this week?
I have, and I'm going to screen share if that's all right. I was thinking about red tags. I put a post out about a year ago. You spurred me thinking here, John,
Hmm.
or it might have been you, Al. Can you see on the left there? There's one of my red tags, and on the
Yeah.
right,
Mhm.
what I'm calling a bad red tag.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Uh,
Mhm.
and my point is, the purpose of a red tag is not to get it printed at cost and to write a short story.
Mhm.
The purpose of red tag is everything we've said in the episode that we've just said. So the red tag is not to be complicated. It is to show abnormal from normal, and if it's still hanging off after a while, it hasn't been sorted yet. If it's for my money, you only need three pieces of information: who wrote it, a tag number to log it, and a description, but not War and Peace.
Mhm.
So, counterintuitively, I think that is an ugly red tag, the one on the right, because it's over processing waste.
Hmm.
Mhm.
And I think 5 mil Allen key, no home, raised by Chris Morgan, and it's number 46 tag. I think that's a beautiful red tag. So my tip for today on red tagging is keep it simple.
Nice and succinct.
Nice for that, Russ.
And yeah, I'll follow it up with I utterly agree. And the only thing that I think is really useful to have pre-printed on a tag is maybe a unique number. And that's arguable as well.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah,
Mhm.
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah,
Right, so that brings us to the end of this particular episode. What do you think? Are we talking bobbins?
yeah.
It's quite
Yes.
possible. Let us know.
And if we are, yeah, why? Tell us what bit is bobbins?
Did you detect any good common sense in there? Please point it out. We'd like to know. Um, Give us your comments below. If you want to email us, if that's your preferred thing, then do so. The rest is lean@gmail.com. Love to hear from you. And you can guarantee we're going to carry on this sort of discussion in our next episode. Thanks for joining us, folks, and see you all soon. Bye.
Later.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
See you soon. Stay safe.